What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at. It is the Earthmaster back here on this midweek, September 6th, 2023, Wednesday, that is. About 12:46 p.m. California time. Latest quake looks like some movement over here across the Strait area off the coast of Morocco in between Spain there, 3.0. The latest earthquake on the Earthquake 3D globe. We did see some movement kicking up overnight, including, check out this ring that is raised off the globe pretty fantastically, I would say, just off the coast of North Korea. But 636 kilometers deep for that earthquake. That's one of the deepest quakes I have seen out here around Peter the Great Bay area, well underneath this area. Something major, I believe, about ready to brew up here across the Japan Trench and the Kuril Kamchatka. Look at that. That's just deep as can be. And, of course, historical data does show, obviously, some deeper quakes below the 300-kilometer range within this region. Of course, the subduction zone, the Kuril Kamchatka and the Japan Trench here. Look at that line, though. Kind of goes straight up there. Yeah. White circles indicating the shallow earthquake, gray indicating somewhat moderate depth, and then, of course, the darker circles there on the map indicating earthquakes well below 300 kilometers. So definitely do see some on occasion out here, but like I say, I don't recall the last time I've seen something well below 600 kilometers like this. So got some movement going on out there well below the surface. I believe that has to do with this area up here, the Kuril Kamchatka and the Japan Trench, so we'll continue to watch that area. Also seeing a little bit of movement here. Shallow earthquake activity up around the Tonga Trench, 10 kilometers deep for a 5.1 and a 4.9. Now this area has, for the most part, seen mostly deeper movements here over the last week around the Tonga Trench area. This one right here is 164. Most of this activity obviously way down there. And this is very typical to C5 and even some 600-kilometer deep earthquakes in this area of the world. But now it looks like we're getting a little bit of adjustment upstream to offset some of that pressure that's probably been building up here for a little while. We'll continue to watch this area along the Kermadec Trench and New Zealand for some activity. Let's check out the GeoNet servers here real quick. We'll check out Mount St. Helens here in a bit. 2.8 4 hours ago being reported here, North Island area. The all magnitude events will probably show a handful more, but nothing of concern unless they're in a swarm fashion somewhere. But I really don't see any major swarms kicking up. Generally small earthquake being reported here in the last 24 hours. The earthquake drums out here probably show some of those earthquakes, but not all of them. Those are some really small quakes being listed there by the GeoNet servers. Not a whole lot going on. Far as I can tell, look at the seismograph stations there, look pretty calm. Right, so aside from this deeper movement quake, shallower adjustment downstream here, what do we got center-based? Mostly shallow earthquake activity from yesterday. So we really haven't seen any major adjustment following this deeper movement or the shallower earthquake activity. Still think we need to watch the Solomon Islands area, Papua New Guinea. I know they've seen a little bit of activity here in the last week, but for the most part, this little segment here around the Vanuatu, Port Vila area has been awfully quiet. Like I said, we've seen a handful of quakes here. The last one around Solomon Islands was a 4.8. About 5 days or so ago. But keep an eye on that. Mariana Trench really hasn't shown anything out here at all. That's a little on the scary side because a lot of that strain from the pressure momentum here of the northwestward pressure movement from the Pacific Plate heading off in this direction here should have kicked up some earthquakes out here by now. So I think that's even a little bit quieter than Solomon Islands area, so we'll watch this region as well. Let's see what else we got here. Anything major going on across the rest of the globe aside from a little bit of activity? 3.8 or 3.0 it looks like there off the coast, maybe inland. within that strait is some of the newer activity. Not really seeing anything major going on here today. Just a handful of smaller quakes within the vicinity of the Mediterranean and beyond. Atlantic Ocean pretty quiet. South America, what's going on down there? There's not a whole lot. That's rather odd for a major subduction zone. Not for sure if that's a good sign when it goes quiet or not. Looking at the last 7 days of activity here in South America, well, there's always going to be earthquake activity, right? Looks like about 16 of them. Seen some 4s and 5s, nothing major. The important thing to look at is the depth of these earthquakes. If we're seeing more deeper earthquakes than shallower earthquake activity, then obviously we should be on alert for some larger scale movement towards the subduction zone where it builds a strain upstream. And looking at these here on the graph, it looks like there's a handful of deep and shallow earthquakes in the mix there. So we'll continue to watch that though. Puerto Rico Trench. Most of this activity here from yesterday. You can see a little bit of swarming going on up here around the British Virgin Islands area. That looks like that is tapering off for now. All right, what do we got down here in Alabama? 2.3 near Double Springs, Alabama. 7.0. Not earthquake, but 7.0 below the surface. The depth of the earthquake there for that 2.3. Occasionally these guys do get some quakes, right? I think it's been I don't know how long it's been since they've seen any earthquake activity, but occasionally an earthquake will pop up there in Alabama, generally light ones. It does sit somewhat in the hazard zone out here as far as plate tectonics go. Of course, New Madrid seismic zone and a couple other seismically active historical zones out there in the shaded areas of this map. One earthquake in the New Madrid seismic zone from last night. Oklahoma and Texas, looks like they're filling back in here around the oil fields, right? Just got to zoom in here and check out the satellite imagery, and you'll see a bunch of these little ponds sitting out here out in this area of Texas. This is all earthquake activity from pumping operations. There's a couple wells out there. You can see the tanks. That's about as far in as this is going to zoom, unless we go to Google Earth. But yeah, there's wastewater disposal ponds all over the place out here outside of the Pecos, Texas region. Quite a bit of oil fields, and that's where that activity is occurring here right now. Yellowstone National Park, looks like a handful of smaller earthquakes being reported here this morning. So let's go see what we got here at the Yellowstone area. That's going to be these right here. I already see them. Couple earthquakes. Most of those are very small, so this gives you a good indicator. It looks like the largest one was 1.0 at 0948. So somewhere in the mix here is that 1.0, probably the biggest one you see on here. So for the most part, this is all generally below the 1.0 threshold. Nothing major going on. Not really seeing anything of concern. All right, let's see what else we got here. Moving westward. Washington area, Mount St. Helens. Looks like they put up, these are from yesterday, so let's give a quick glance here at the Mount St. Helens seismograph station upstream, up here, and see what's going on. It's been of interest here recently. Some geologists claiming that this is just some rockfall events. You know, as far as this seismic signatures going, I don't think so. Maybe a rockfall might be more drawn out, something like that. But I know earthquake activity when I see it on the graph. It's going to look just like this. This here looks like an earthquake indeed as well, but maybe potentially deeper underneath this area. But it blew off the chart here, flatlined the seismic reading, and that's, you know, that looks like a 2 or 3 maybe kicking up here on the graph. But again, you know, I'd still say that there's earthquake activity occurring. I looked at I looked for a Mount St. Helens webcam, and they're all from like May or older. So I'd like to see what maybe this looks like right now, but nothing is operable at all. I mean, you can look at the local stations out here on the web on their webcams and see that. Let's go back over here and check it out. Sugar Bowl, huh? I don't want to see a time lapse of 2004 to 2008. I'm not interested. So there is really not a whole lot of options. And also, I looked on, I did a quick Google search, and there's always different websites showing the webcams, but those are like from May. Volcano Cam. See, this is from May of this year. This is from the official USGS page. So, I don't know what's going on up there. I'd like to have a visual. Are these working up around Mount Rainier? East-facing webcam. These are working. These are from the 6th today. Look at all the people out enjoying the beautiful weather up there around Mount Rainier. Probably a good day for a hike. I see some people wearing sweaters and a jacket up there. So it looks like a beautiful day up there around Mount Rainier, but right now the focus is on Mount St. Helens, and we can't seem to get any clear definition of what is going on up here. So we'll continue to watch this, folks, and report back on it. The USGS reporting this as normal as far as the activity goes. All right, what do we got down here? Central Oregon. It's outside of the Newberry volcano from just after midnight. A little bitty small earthquake there. All right, Northern California, a handful of smaller quakes across the area. Don't think we're seeing anything major going on. In fact, California right now looks pretty quiet. There's one earthquake there from yesterday, but as far as 2.5 and above, there's not a whole lot going on. There's no major swarms, just your typical plate boundary earthquake activity. Big Island of Hawaii. Let's see. Let's zoom in here to the Kilauea volcano. Most of the activity right now been around the Pahala area, some deeper movement quakes. Loihi Seamount, pretty quiet out here. There has been a handful of smaller earthquakes offshore, but not anywhere within the vicinity of the seamount. That's about 10 or 15 miles or so away from that earthquake activity, it looks like. But as far as Kilauea volcano, there's some of that earthquake activity from this morning. And let's check out the hazard notification system here from the USGS. That is going to be today's output or update. Currently not erupting. It's currently exhibiting signs of elevated unrest. That's just due to the earthquake activity. Most of the earthquakes have been at a depth of 1 to 2 miles with no upward migration. So until that happens, I think we're just going to stay on a standstill until things kick back up. They do have a webcam there on YouTube, and of course they have some cams as well that work. Let's go ahead and check it out here. Kilauea Volcano. We'll go to their site, and there's a bunch of these webcams all over the place. So many of them, you have to filter them out. I wish that was the case there for Mount St. Helens. May have to drive up there myself and see what's going on. What's this one down here? That's looking right at the Crater Lake area. Lava Lake is what they call it, right? Lava Lake. There on the Big Island. A little bit of steam coming up, but that's all smoke. I wouldn't think that's steam. That's just volcanic gases there coming up. And, around the edges here as well. So things are still active underneath this area down below. Those volcanic gases do find their way up through cracks and whatnot towards the surface. Just right now, the magma's having some issues pushing upward and onward. But I'm sure that won't take long for it to kick back up. Here's the HVO observation tower. So things look pretty calm there across the Big Island for now. Let's get back to the, where are we? USGS map here. So that is it. Let's check out, not a whole lot going on up here in Anchorage. A little slight swarm over here. It doesn't look like anything major. Again, major plate boundary. That's going to be typical across the area as far as general movement goes each day. things are tapering back off here. I noticed that this sunspot region here has dwindled. That's going to be this area right here. That was a source of quite a few C flares and some M flares. But let's look at the magnetic structure here of 3421. Still got a little bit of complexity in here, but it looks like overall growth has halted and reversed. Maybe getting ready to dissipate. But we'll keep an eye on that. These sunspots that are coming up around the northeastern limb look like they are growing even more so since last night. So these may be something to watch here in the coming days as they rotate further into position here, and we get a better view of that activity. Right now, 95% chance for a C flare, M flare 25, X flare around 5% chance. And again, no major auroras in the forecast for now. Storm Prediction Center out here, weather forecast. Looks like a slight risk here over portions of Arkansas, portions of Tennessee up here, and the Mississippi area. And that's looks like that's going to be mainly due to a little bit of wind events. No tornado threat today. Less than 2% for the states. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the forecast. Numerical models. Let's check on hurricane. Well, is it even a hurricane yet? I think it's Tropical Storm Lee out there still. Oh, goodness. Tropical Storm Lee, the most recent updated information on this is very close to hurricane status right now. 70 mile per hour sustained winds. This was at 11 a.m. that AST time. Moving off at 14 miles per hour or so. This thing is expected to become a major hurricane. We're still watching that. If this thing tracks a little bit south, that could allow it to dodge this. Let me show you guys. There's a, once we get into that time frame, put this into motion here. There's upper level winds here and pressure differences that could pull this hurricane further north. But if for some reason that does track maybe a little bit further south, that could allow it to reach further westward here towards the Gulf or maybe towards the East Coast. But I think right now all patterns are looks like that's going to be dodging the East Coast, even this area around the Northeast. Last night it showed a little bit more impact up here, but it looks like weather models are forecasting it to get caught up and be taken away from land, which is a good thing, right? Looks like maybe some tropical development forming down here in the Gulf later in the month of September. We'll continue to watch that. As far as any patterns go out here in the high and low pressure range, we're we got 89 degrees in my backyard right now. It's not too bad. Not too bad. I'd rather have it down in the 70s, but all right, so right now, oh man, got some high pressure ridging up here in Canada. That's going to strengthen out here along the west as well, indicating some drier, hotter conditions for us here in California and the Pacific Northwest. Cooler conditions out here, troughing going on across the Midwest, and that's maybe expected next week, early next week. So hopefully that high pressure goes away. I'm not really seeing any dominant ridging out here for now. As long as it gets to move around and gets out of position here, I don't mind that. This time last year, oh goodness, here in California, here where I live outside of Chico, I think it was 118. So we can get hot in September, very hot. So I guess I will take 89 degrees right now over 118. So I better not complain, right? Could be much hotter. All right, folks, don't forget the entry video is up. Hot Caves, Hawaii, earthquake activity. There's a little quake there on Mount St. Helens. So make sure you enter into that drawing. Everything that you need to do is in that video. I explained that in there. And man, I think we got 300 entries already. So that's a pretty good number. I'd like to fill up that fishbowl with people's names here. I may have to buy some more tickets 'cause I don't even know if I have 300. Hopefully we'll get at least 500 or more. I'd like to see upwards of 1,000. entries for this drawing. So don't forget, folks. Even if, say, you don't want to win prizes, maybe enter, and if you do win, give it away. Maybe pass it along to somebody else, or give it to a family member. Either way, I think it's a cool thing. It's our way of showing appreciation for you guys, helping us hit the 100,000 subscriber mark. So, yeah, the video will be at the end of this video, as far as that entry video goes. So check it out. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight. Have a good one. Enjoy your Wednesday. Peace out.